49ers, ultimately, they're the shining example to me of the whole thesis of wins are not a QB stat. So I know that like the big hyped up storyline for the media right now for San Francisco is Brock Purdy versus Trey Lance. But if I'm being honest, based on my perception of both quarterbacks, it's the battle of mid. So I don't really care who wins. I know that you and I both were not super high on Lance coming out of the draft. We did think that he has like a pretty insane ceiling, but his floor is very low. So if he was not able to win the job, wouldn't be shocked. That said, the whole reason they wanted to go get Trey Lance was because they didn't want to deal with like an average QB who can just do the easy stuff, which was just get Jimmy Garoppolo. Brock Purdy is literally, that's what he did his rookie year. He could grow. I mean, that's kind of the one caveat I do need to throw out when it comes to Brock Purdy, just because I'm pretty critical of Brock. I think that a lot of people do give him credit for them winning. But when you go look at the advanced analytics of like tight throws, you go watch some of the plays, like the guy is throwing to players who are literally wide open. The decisions were made pre-snap by the coach. Like he wasn't having to do a lot of difficult stuff. And maybe he will the next year when teams are actually scheming for him if he does win the starting job and like trying to scheme against his specific weaknesses. And so, you know, maybe things will change and maybe as a player, he'll grow going into his second year. But like I said, quite honestly, I give a lot of credit to the weapons around them, the scheme that Shanahan cooks up, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really care who wins. I don't know. I'm not really kept up with who's winning the current training camp battle. I don't think it'll be Darnold. It'll be one of Purdy or Lance. My gut would say they would want to give Lance every possible shot to win it. Just because like I said, the reason that Shanahan went and traded up for the number 3 overall pick after going to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo was not because Jimmy G was magically bad. It was because Jimmy G was an average quarterback and they wanted a guy who had an above average ceiling. And I don't know if Purdy has that. So I feel like they would want to give Lance every possible opportunity, but if his floor is what we kind of expected it to be, like, did you even have him in your top 5 of your quarterback rankings that year?
I remember correctly. I'll check in a second. I'm pretty sure I left him off, and I remember that was a big contingency with some people for me.
And I think I'm pretty sure I had him at 5. Yeah, so like he was barely in there. Once again, like I said, we acknowledged his ceiling. It was a good QB class, so that's part of it. You know, like if he goes the same year as Kenny Pickett and all of them, then who knows? He might be ranked number 1 just off of the pure potential that he has. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big believer in either QB, and regardless of who wins the job, I think that the team will be fine. They'll be a force. Heck, you can even, I think, depending on, as long as they get the bare minimum of quarterback production of just make the right play when the right play is available, they can be a team that could potentially go to the Super Bowl because that's how good their defense and their offensive weapons are. So, yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would say I was very surprised about with their offseason was, in a positive way, getting Javon Hargrave. Now, all of a sudden, you kind of go back to that same identity that I think they really had when DeForest Buckner was there, of 2 dominant interior guys in Hargrave and Armstead, with Nick Bosa out on the edge, Drake Jackson coming into his second year. You got Fred Warner right behind him. Like that addition with the rotation of Kinlaw coming in too, who's solid in his own right, like just a very solid defensive line that the Niners have. It was already amazing, and now you just add Hargrave, which makes it even more stacked. So, yeah, I think that was really the only surprise that I thought was there. And other than that, I mean, it's going to be business as usual for the 49ers. The only big question marks, like I said, are who plays quarterback and can they stay healthy? Because, you know, knock on wood. But the Niners, that's kind of been the only thing that's really held them back in recent years.
Yeah, health. They're one of those teams where health has just not been on their side. Doesn't help that, Trey Lance has obviously been dealing with injuries growing, but he's been one of those guys, like we said, kind of raw, just needs to play and hasn't really been able to play. And
real quick, actually, before you go, I had a quote that I wanted to bring up of Shanahan's about the QB battle that I was looking at here, just while you're talking about Trey Lance. This was from last May, and Shanahan said, Trey was going through a lot last year, and I believe he would have gotten to the level where he did similar stuff to Purdy. He missed that chance. Brock came in and did it. Now, I truly believe Trey can go do that, but Brock's already done it, and that's a very good thing for us to have. So take that for what you will. He's speaking on Trey's ability to have similar results to what Brock did, but also it seems like he's commenting on the fact that Trey is not there yet and Brock already is, which, like I said, with the Niners is kind of a low floor because I think that 99% of NFL quarterbacks could execute their system, but take that for what you will. Those were Shanahan's quotes last May. There you go.
Yeah, and just I do have our quarterback rankings from that draft class pulled up from the 2021, 22, whatever class. And yeah, I did not have Lance in the top 5. I had Trask over him, and you had him at 5. So, and heck, and once again, just a real quick pat on the back. You had to have Justin Fields ahead of Mac Jones. So obviously we'll still see with Fields, but
this is unrelated, but something inside of me so wanted to put Fields at 2, but then I thought maybe it was too hot of a take, and then I don't know. That was one of those takes where I feel like I kind of wimped out because I was like, but Zach Wilson's got such a great arm, and Fields is kind of a question mark with... Anyway, and I wish I did it because I would have looked a lot better, but anyway.
But you did say, and I already want to say it, and it's a pinned comment. He's a quote from John Harris 4. I'll say it. People saying Lance in the top 3 are crazy. So, and I'm guessing even of the quarterbacks, and we're kind of seeing that. We're kind of seeing him have some lumps. But judging from what they've done, you mentioned the Hargrave edition. Just seems like, regardless, even if they are still figuring things out at quarterback this season, whether it is Lance, Purdy, or even Darnold, who knows? They're still going to have a really good defense, which may even be better, should be better. Now they have Hargrave, which is going to be scary. And then another year for this offensive line to gel more, which, hey, we could see them struggle at the beginning, losing Mike McGlinchey and Brunskill, and they lost Alex Mack a year ago. So the line's been a little bit of a shuffle, but it's Kyle Shanahan. And judging from what we saw last year, even though they were dealing with some injuries too along the line, like everyone does, but they were still able to do what they do, run the ball very well. They were the best defense in the NFL. So wouldn't be shocked if they're right back in that conversation. And I did look it up. It was Steve Wilks is their new defensive coordinator. So pretty good hire too, in my opinion, because many felt that Wilks was kind of robbed of getting the Panthers job. And I always felt that he should have gotten more of a chance with the Cardinals, because remember, he was just there for 1 year, and that was the Josh Rosen year. But nothing much else to add for myself on there for the 49ers. It's just one of those teams where, they just got to get, especially their star position players on offense, have to remain healthy and just do enough while their defense and running game can carry the load. So that's the 49ers. We expect them to be in the playoff picture unless, they have Christian McCaffrey out there at quarterback like they almost did in the championship game, which, by the way, I think if I remember correctly, they did get the rule changed. They can finally, if it all falls apart again in the playoffs, they can have a third quarterback dressed, correct? Honest. I think. I'll have to double check. I think it was a rule like you only have 2 quarterbacks dressed for the playoffs or something.
Crazy rule.
Let it to 3 yeah. I'm not sure. I think it was that. I believe so. It was something along that. That's why, obviously, yeah, because of what happened, because they had to throw, Josh Johnson. Oh, no, Josh Johnson couldn't go out there. So, yeah, they had to throw Purdy out there.
I remember the situation. I didn't even know that was a rule. So, that's kind of dumb. I
could be wrong. I'll look that up.
Why can't you have 3? Why couldn't you have 4 or 5 or 6? I don't know. That seems strange.
No clue. Yeah. I don't make the rules. We just follow them. We don't even follow them. We just watch them. But those are the 49ers. Like you said, we still expect them to be in the top class of the NFC.